Alright, hello you crazy people out there, this is DragoniteSpam and welcome back to another Game Maker video. This is going to be similar to the NPC video I recorded last time. This is going to be dealing with making pause menus, so you hit the escape key, you can cycle through a list of options of things to do, and I knocked something over on my desk, get out of there, and the game reacts to whatever option your cursor's over. Keep in mind that there's a lot of ways to do this, and the one that will work best will really depend on the type of game you're making. I have in mind right now a system like older Pokemon games, Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum. It's weird to think of those as old right now, where you just have a list of text and a cursor. I have a little demonstration of what I mean on the screen right now. Anyway, it's going to run on very similar code to the NPCs over here. And if you have not watched that video, you might want to go and do that because I'm probably going to be talking about a couple of things I did in there without really explaining them. But anyway, same way that the NPCs had this draw text variable, I'm going to give one to the player. And instead of drawing a text box with words on it on the screen, the player is going to have text, and the player is going to have draw a pause menu. And instead of a text box with words on the screen, this is going to be determining whether or not you should be drawing a pause menu on the screen. So let's see. Once again, I really should investigate the draw GUI event, draw GUI event, whatever you want to call it. But I'm just really used to just using the draw event. It doesn't matter. This is simple stuff anyway. Let's see. Label this code snippet, because once again, someone was getting on my butt about that. And if draw pause menu, we're going to be putting code in there in a minute. And once again, draw self. Or again, if you're using really old versions of Game Maker, draw sprite, and you just draw your own sprite index. Anyway, moving on. Here, I'm going to create an array, which is just going to contain the all the text that you want to draw on the screen. So, menu item 0 is going to be, let's say, resume. Menu item of 1 is going to be restart, how about? And menu item 2 is going to be quit game. And these are all going to do what it sounds like they're going to do. But before I worry about that, I need to go and display them. So for var I equals 0, I is less than array length 1d of menu item and I++. Again, if you're using previous versions of Game Maker, you're going to have to format this for loop slightly differently. Instead of saying plus, you're going to have to say plus equals 1. Instead of saying array length 1d, you're going to need to have your own variable for the size of the array. But anyway, I'm going to say draw, for every item in the array, draw text. How about x is going to be 64 plus, I think this, I don't know what the size of this text is. We're going to give each line of text 16 rather, pixels of space on the screen. So 64 plus 16 times I, and menu item of I. Okay, so I should not do that yet because I don't have a way to actually flip draw pause menu on or off. So I'm going to go into the step event. And actually, because I use the space pressed event for the NPCs, I'm going to do something similar for the pause menu. Most games, almost all games, on the computer anyway, you hit the escape key and that pauses the game. And let's see, key press for, where is it, others, it's not in there, where's escape key? Oh, obviously, it's right here, I don't know how I missed that. We're going to say when you press escape, if draw pause menu equals false, do something else. Finish that code block. So if draw pause menu equals false, I'm just going to copy and paste this because this is a rather long variable name. It's going to be set to true, and free is going to be set to false. Otherwise, it's going to do the opposite. So draw pause menu is going to be set to false, and free is going to be set to true. And the free variable is, again, the same thing that I was using for NPCs, so that the player knows whether or not they should be able to walk around if something's happening on the screen, text-wise. So the game's going to run, and I hit the pause menu, and resume, restart, and quit game shows up in the corner there. They're rather hard to see, I can walk around, by the way, when the text isn't there, and I can't walk around when it is there. They're rather hard to see. So I'm also going to want to draw a rectangle behind them or something like that, so that it stands out a little bit from the background. So let's see, let's draw set color to white, because we want the background color to be white. And right before drawing the text, we're going to set it back to black, and we're going to draw rectangle from position 32, 32 to 128. I like working with powers of 2 in case you haven't noticed yet. And instead of drawing the last Y position, the bottom Y position at a set location on the screen, I'm going to be doing a little bit of math so that it always frames the pause menu nicely, however much text happens to be in it. So that's going to be array length 1D plus 9 times 16 plus 96. The last parameter is going to be false because I don't want it to just draw an outline. I want it to fill the whole thing in. Here, this is just going to be giving it the same amount of space as the words take up, more or less. It might be off a little bit depending on the alignment of the text. And the 96 is just going to be a little bit of a padding space because the text doesn't start to get drawn immediately at y equals 0. Anyway, see this. Alright, that does frame the text nicely, except it isn't given quite enough space over here. 320 should be good. Now, this text over here isn't the prettiest thing in the world. It's not very big. Usually you want to have the text in a pause menu a little bit bigger so that it stands out. But I'm not going to be worrying about like graphical font size and stuff like that right now. The important part is if you were to go into the player's whatever and add a bunch more menu items over here. This all is just gibberish. I'm going to delete them after this run of the game just so that you can see how it's going to how the box is going to expand to accommodate all of the lines. And again, if you're using a previous version of GameMaker, you're going to want to have a variable that tells the game how many lines are in this menu array. So something like menu size equals 2, whatever the last index in this array happens to be. Alright, so the menu gets drawn, but you can't scroll through it or anything. And to be able to do that, you need a variable that tells the position in the array. So I'm going to say position equals 0. And in the draw event, next to the text at whatever position we happen to be at in the array, going to draw, let's just draw a circle. Circle should be good. From X, we're going to try and make this like not look hideous, but I really am just taking guesses at the coordinates. If you're doing this on your own, you probably want to do a little bit of math to make sure everything lines up like symmetrically and stuff. So 48, 64 plus 16 times I, and the radius, how about like 4? And again, outline only is false because we wanted to draw the entire circle. And this will be drawing a little circle next to the first menu in the array. Just make sure I didn't like completely miss and draw it on the other side of the screen or something. Okay, it's drawing one not next to anything, and I'm going to want this to be not I, but menu position. There you go, it's kind of next to the first item in the array. Let's move this down a bit. You can tell I spent a lot of time rehearsing this video before I went and made it. Anyway, to be able to cycle through the menu with the arrow keys or with up and down or whatever. Let's see, I really should be putting this code in the step event because you don't really want to have anything except drawing code in the draw event. And if you just saw a huge massive cut in the video, that was, I screwed something up. Once again, you really would think that I would have rehearsed this a few more times before starting to record this, but never mind. When you hit up, if keyboard check pressed VK up, you're going to do something, and when you hit down, you're also going to do something. No need for left and right because you're not really doing that in this kind of menu. I think some games do let you use left and right instead of up and down in menus, but I'm not going to be making one of them right here. The reason I'm not going to just copy and paste something similar to this switch statement over here is because this just checks to see if the key is down and not to see if it's been pressed or not. And unless you want to have like the cursor position jumping by like 50 every time you hit a key because you're pressing the key down for several frames, several steps of the game, you don't really want that. So you just want to check explicitly to see if up or down have been pressed. So we're going to say if up menu position minus equals 1 and if down menu position plus equals 1. And this is going to work, but at the same time it isn't going to work. Forgot I still have that running. You see, once this compiles. All right, so I'm gonna pause the game and I'm gonna hit up, and the cursor is just going wherever it wants to. It's not being confined to this menu or anything, and that's because there are no bounds on it. Fortunately or unfortunately, depending on how you look at it, it won't crash the game because it's not looking for an index in an array that doesn't exist or anything like that. But it's really not supposed to function like that, so we really should do something about it. So firstly, if when you hit up, if menu position equals 0 equals rather -1 because 0 is the starting position, you're going to say menu position equals this array length. I really should just take this and put it in its own variable. So hang on a minute. Excuse me. MS menu size is going to stand for this whole statement over there. This is a situation where having your own variable for that sort of thing might be kind of useful because you won't have to deal with this big long function name, but then again, this is automatic. Anyway, never mind. Menu position is going to equal the size of the array minus 1. And when you press down, if menu position equals the size of the array, you're going to say menu position equals 0. This is just going to cause the cursor to loop back to the beginning if you hit the end of the list, and it's going to cause it to loop to the end if you hit the beginning of the list, like this. All right, great, it works. Now the last thing to do, and I'm actually going to say this really should go in the step event, but because I want to have all my code in one place for the purpose of a tutorial, I'm not going to do that. The last thing you're going to want to do, if keyboard check, I don't know what that said, pressed VK enter, we're going to be doing different things depending on which position in the array we are. So now we can switch menu position, and case 0, that's going to be, that's not a 0. This is going to be where it says resume. Hang on, I'm just going to spell out all these cases before I actually write anything in them. When you hit enter or resume, we want the game to unpause itself, and this is really just going to be the same code that happens when you hit the escape key to unpause the game. So you're going to say draw pause menu equals false and character is free equals true, so that you can walk around again and stuff like that. When you say restart, game restart, and when you say quit, game end. Alright, so let's go and test this out. And I'm going to go running around somewhere. We can go and talk to you, and I'm not going to go talk to you anymore. I'm going to go pause the game and hit resume, and I can walk around again. I'm going to go pause the game, hit restart, and we're all back to our starting positions. The game's been restarted, and I'm going to say quit game, and the game has ended. Alright, perfect. Alright, another massive awkward cut in the video because I didn't think things through. Another issue that you might notice with this is that, say, if you're using this NPC system, you can still pause the game, and you can still use it like normal, and that's really weird. On the other side, you can pause the game, and you can still talk to the NPC, and that's also really weird. And then you can start walking around again when the menu is still up there. And that's really not how it's supposed to work. The way you would deal with that is to say if free equals true. Only when free equals true you can pause the game. Similarly, if we go into the NPCs step event, or space press event rather, we'll say if player.draw pause menu equals false. So if there isn't any menu on the screen, then we'll be reacting to being talked to and stuff like that. And I can go over here, pause the game, and I can't talk. I can resume. I need to enter for that. Or I can go and talk to you, and I can't pause the game, but I can finish. Perfect. Let's get out of here using the fancy quit button instead of just exiting out of the window. Do try to be careful how you intermingle the player's free variable for different purposes. If you were to just say if player.free equals false over here, you would start to get all kinds of annoying problems. Like you might be able to start talking to somebody when the pause menu's open, but you won't be able to finish, that kind of thing. But I'm gonna stop there and just let you mess around with that on your own, because really this kind of system is really the kind of thing that you have to use yourself and figure out what works best for your game and what you like to program and that sort of thing. Like I said at the beginning of this video, there are an unlimited number of ways to make pause systems. This is just the one that I use most often, the one that I'm most used to making. This can be used to make any type of menu, like at the title screen. If you want to scroll through a bunch of options, you can use the same principle of drawing an array of text and drawing a circle next to the one that's selected and behaving based on where you are. But anyway, that is pause menus. I hope you all enjoyed that. I hope you found that useful. Go make some really cool pause menus for your own game, and if you do, let me know, because I do want to see what y'all come up with. Once again, I will have I will have a compressed GameMaker project file for this in the video description for you to download and mess around with. Rate, comment, and subscribe. Watch more of the stuff I've uploaded, and I will see you all later.